I'm going to give you just a little background. So we joined ICLEI. Some people are familiar with that. So we joined ICLEI and we used some of their guidelines, their software, their programs, and we agreed to these 5 milestones when we joined ICLEI. So conduct a baseline greenhouse gas inventory, adopt an emission reduction target, develop a local climate action plan, implement the policies and measures, and monitor and verify the results. So we did that. Our first greenhouse gas inventory was conducted by a college student. I think was it Dave. Dave, am I right? I was talking to about the college, the connection here. And so for his honors project, he did a greenhouse gas inventory using ICLEI software. Really thorough job he did. We spent a lot of time. I worked with them. Other Oberlin College staff worked with him. Matter of fact, John Peterson that's coming in oversaw this project. So that was our first greenhouse gas inventory.
Can we ask questions?
Sure, sure.
So did the city join ICLEI? Who?
The city, yes. City belongs to ICLEI.
Can I ask you a quick question about the software?
Yep.
Is it easy to use?
It wasn't at that time.
Training.
They've upgraded it and they've actually kind of changed it, what I'll get into later. But they've merged with, or not merged, but went together with, I'm drawing a blank, but a couple other organizations, and now they're using the global, it's called the GPC, the Global Protocol for Communities. And so I think ICLEI still has their own, but there's some differences. In our second greenhouse gas inventory, we hired a consulting firm to do this, and so they use the GPC, but that was part of, ICLEI was part of developing that too.
So on Marianne's question, the impetus for the for joining ICLEI, was that a community thing? Was that the council deciding to do? You know what I'm saying? It can be a pretty political decision.
Right. At the time, we had a council president that was very interested in that, and he spearheaded the effort to have the city join. And in Oberlin, the council president's also the mayor, so he had a lot of influence in getting us to do that. So yes.
Currently in your city council government, are there people that are strong proponents of being involved in this whole thing? In other words, if our village is interested, can we network with people in your city government?
Yep, sure. Yeah, there's some people very interested in it, both on council, I mean within the city. Like I said, my title used to just be energy services manager, and over the last, I don't know, 7 years or so, I've been with the city almost 18 years now, and I would say the last 7 or 8 years it's really the environmental drive has grown, and so they've added more duties, and I'm doing more and more of that, so that's how my title grew. So yes, there's a lot of interest in Oberlin, and there's a lot of contacts, the Oberlin Project Council, myself, that you'd be able to contact with. So the first climate action plan, as that was part of ICLEI, our commitments, we developed this climate action plan, and so myself and a college student, Savannah Sullivan, we got a deed scholarship, and you're part of AMP, Yellow Springs is, and so you're automatically also a member of APPA. So one of the questions was financing. We had I believe, if I remember right, because it was longer ago than I remember, but I think it was about $3,000 scholarship that we got for Savannah to work with me on developing this climate action plan. Savannah she's a whiz, just really smart. I said when I worked with her, she'd be president, some U.S. president someday, because she just worked out great. So you have that resource through APPA to be able to apply for deed grants, and we did get that scholarship for her to work with us. So it was adopted in 2011. And by that time we were having people that were more and more interested, so we wanted to get more. Basically, she and I developed it on using ICLEI software. We looked at some other climate action plans. At that time there weren't a whole lot, and then came along, the group wanted to expand it and have more stakeholder input. So in 2012 we started a climate action committee to look at the plan, and look at the strategies, see what else we could do. Were these strategies reasonable? Were they not? Add to them and expand them. So these are the 6 areas the climate action plan covers. So energy efficiency, the renewable energy, green building, the solid waste management, transportation someone mentioned, and education. So at that time we had 43 strategies, and there was 9 entities responsible for those different areas.
I read this plan 5-6 weeks ago, and I don't remember. There you go. Okay.
Will you
Yeah,
be
what our
talking about
reduction-
each one of those areas?
Yep, I will, coming up.
But what year did you start the process? Just the
So we really started in 2009 when Nathaniel did his greenhouse gas inventory based on 2007 numbers. That's when we had the most complete numbers. We tried for 2001, and there were some things that he wasn't able to get. Both locally, we had most of it, but there were some things like Columbia Gas and some other numbers that we couldn't get. So 2007 was the most complete numbers we had. And so these are the reductions we came up with then as a city. Was 2015, this year, a 50% reduction, 2030 a 75% reduction, and then actually 2050 with our affiliation with the Clinton Climate Program will be
What are you
100% plus. So what's that?
What are you reducing?
Carbon emissions, CO2 emissions.
How close are you to 50%?
Well, you're going to have to wait till I get to the end to show you. I'm not giving away all the good stuff here. So, the
To keep you engaged.
yeah, here this was some slides I pulled out of when we were working with the Climate Action Committee. So this was our purpose. The first meeting was this. We expected it would meet 3 to 5 times during 2012 as a full group. We would draft updates, discuss new strategies, and evaluate the work in between the meetings. I'll get a little bit more into that. And so more work will be done in small groups, individuals, or organizations between the meetings. So we had 17 members on that, the Climate Action Committee.
And what kind of stakeholder groups were involved,
Oh,
represented?
shoot. I was going to grab that climate action plan, but we have a nonprofit in town, Oberlin Community Services, that works with a lot of different areas in the city. So the director from there was on it. We had several just citizens. We had a council member. Who else? We had he was the energy facility manager. I can't think of his exact title at the college that oversees all that. He was on the committee. So we had a pretty good wide variety.
Business?
Of people.
Did you have business people?
Do we have any business
Commercial
people I can remember?
Industry?
Because we had several different subcommittees that were meeting on individuals.
Right.
We had several different subcommittees meeting on individual sections. And I do think that like Janet Haar and the Oberlin Business Partners probably were somewhat included.
Yep.
It's been a while now.
Yeah. But we had, and that's what this next, so their job was to evaluate these strategies and develop new strategies and update that cap. So this is where it got into the subcommittee. So besides that original 17, they recruited another 31 people to look at these, each area, and we divided into three subcommittees that, so the first one had energy efficiency and renewable energy. The next subcommittee covered transportation and solid waste, and then the third was green building and education. And there was some overlap, I think, with some people, but we really had 31 others. So we had whatever that adds up to, 48 different people involved with the climate action plan, developing that. Yeah, and when you say wow, that's what I said because I had to deal with all of them one way or another. So,
And you're stronger for it, too.
yes, it didn't kill me. So
Was there much funding in the beginning?
this was all volunteer basis. I mean, my position with the city, and then we had the ICLEI software. But and in a way, the Oberlin project, really the other, somebody mentioned Carl, and Carl was very involved. But the other really I don't know if co-author, but co-convener of the project was Kristen Brazunas, that at the time worked for the Oberlin project. So her position allowed her to work with me during the day. So we were probably the main two people that were coordinating everything. And Kristen was invaluable. Actually, I called her last night to see if she could be here today, because as I was going through stuff, I said, gosh, just all stuff I remembered she did. So it's really getting a couple people that can have the time and the resources and the knowledge to put it all together.
And what's the relationship between the Oberlin project and the climate action plan?
Oh boy, probably when Sean, or I guess you can answer that now.
I think we should do this as a Q&A session, free flow. So the Oberlin project is a collaboration between the city of Oberlin, Oberlin College, and private and institutional partners to improve the resilience, sustainability, and prosperity of the community. It touches a lot more than just climate action and energy, though the climate action plan is probably the most developed document that's in line with our priorities. If you look through the climate action plan and you look at the Oberlin Project's website and you start matching up goals of the project and parts of the plan, you'll find that they walk hand in hand. So the Oberlin Project, does have funding. Obviously, Kristen, who was focusing on energy at the Oberlin Project at the time, was a good bit of funding that was dedicated, in large part to the climate action plan, along with Doug. So you had two funded persons, and then the Oberlin Project really tried to be that kind of interstitial glue, between all of these stakeholders in the community, trying to convene groups that were focused on these subset activities. Though the climate action plan was driven, in large part by the city, because it's the city's, technically it's the city's goal. Did that get at the whole question, or am I missing something? Okay.
No, so these groups, the subcommittees, kind of looked at other, we didn't start from scratch here, so we looked at other documents, other plans. We had technical assistance from ICLEI, the Climate Initiative, as we were going through, so we could kind of check with them on things. But I would say overall we did it pretty much in-house. That we had some conversations with them, but I wouldn't say that I can remember there was any great things to do. We just did it all in-house.
Can I ask you, do you feel like you needed to join ICLEI?
At the time I debated that, to be honest, whether was it worth, I think our fee's $600 a year, I think, for our size city. And now they've developed a lot of more software, and I just received some information from them, and I signed up for it and haven't had time to look at it. But they have a new program, Clear something, that monitors the strategy. So I want to see how that'll work, because we have, and I'm drawing a blank, we had 43 strategies in the original plan, and I think it's more than that now. So it'd be nice to have a program that we could kind of track it along the way. I mean, I put it in a spreadsheet and kind of look at it that way, but so I want to see what they have. So maybe I have gone to a couple of their conferences that were interesting and good, but really we did a lot of, I said, it seemed like between Kristen and myself and other people that we would contact, we did most of it. And I don't know if we're plagiarizing, but we looked at other climate action plans and took what we liked from each one and said, well, we like this part of this one, and we like this part of this one, and we put it in, and we would discuss back and forth, and so that's what we had developed.
There were some studies too that we utilized to help develop some of the strategies, like the Center for Neighborhood Technology for Transportation, and then the VEIC document also helped to identify strategies in the energy efficiency section.
And those were paid for by that grant, right? So we had other studies that were done that kind of through a grant the college received that, what's that, CNET, what's that stand for?
CNT, Center for Neighborhood Technology.
Yeah, so they're out of Chicago.
So do you feel like you needed ICLEI in hindsight?
To be honest, I can't say for sure, so I guess I'd have to give you a neutral on that for sure, but I'd look and see what they have now. It may be helpful, and I would check out that GPC Global Protocol and see what that is, because it's a simpler, it made something simpler, especially transportation, for tracking those emissions.
What was the other place you just mentioned out of Chicago?
That was a CNT, Center for Neighborhood Technology, is out of Chicago, and then there's the Vermont Energy
Investment Corporation.
Okay, Investment Corporation was the other study that we conducted.
So yeah, that's right. We use a lot of data from both of those studies to put in the plan. So here's how we kind of divided things up. You know, there was an evaluation form that we came up with, and I couldn't find it offhand. But you know, kind of description of the strategy, the effect, who's going to be responsible, and how's it going to be funded. You know, if you don't have those, if you don't have the funding, then you know some of them are good to put in there as you'll, if you've read through our plan where we called it future strategies or potential strategies. That these were ideas that we thought were feasible, that maybe funding would come down the road or technology. And here's how we worked it as a committee. We reviewed the strategies. Oh, there's our guy. This is the infamous Carl McDaniels that you've probably all heard about, that you've all asked about. So glad you could make it, Carl. Then we would vote as a committee. We would, you know, the subcommittees would work on the strategies. We'd bring it back, and we said instead of getting, we did enough discussion, but at times you need to make a decision. So we said here's the three ways we're going to mark these things. You either include it, it's a no-brainer thing, we can do it, we can fund it. Maybe further research is needed, so we could include that one, and some of them just no, we're not going to include. So we, you know, at a certain point, I spent 2 years really developing these climate action plans out of my job. I mean, not full time, but over 2 years, the 1 year, and then another year, actually probably a year and a half on the second one. So at some point you'd need to make decisions, and so we would vote on those as a committee. This was kind of, there was some useful information from McLean. I won't say not, but here's some things that it had. You know, look at when you're writing it, who's the audience for your plan? You want it to be so it pertains to people in the community, right? They're the ones that you want to get their buy-in, so they have to understand it. You can't make it too technical. You know, write it that it's clear. And I like the last one was kind of tell a story. You know, make it so people are interested in it. We kind of went through. We developed a whole different template for each strategy and how each section was going to be written. And this went back and forth a lot. We had a rewrite committee that there was, 3 or 4 of us on there, and well, pretty much Kristen and I, and then well, somebody else was involved in that. But we took everything then and rewrote it so it would all be in one voice, you know, so it all fit together well. And then we were really fortunate, again, the connection with the college. We had a student that, and that wasn't even her major, but she loved doing websites and all the graphic art stuff, and she took the plan and added all these graphics, formatted it, and it came out beautiful. You know, it really, she made the biggest difference at the end, I think. And I'll forward you this also so you could have it, but this was the template we kind of put together on how each section was going to follow through, or each strategy, and both of those together. So we kind of came up with that, so we had an outline to how we wanted to lay things out as we worked on it. This was kind of some of the deadlines we started, and then we went from, you know, had the meetings. Let's see, was it subcommittee? So we met then, and then we had a timeline at the end of the year to get it to council by the end of December so they could look at it. So we kind of had to get everything together, and again, you got to make decisions, and sometimes it takes time. I think we had given council this deadline, or they'd given us a deadline. I forget which one, but basically we had a deadline to meet, and I think we had it pretty well done by the end of December. I think actually I presented it in January then instead of December, so that was we couldn't get everything done by the end of December. So this is kind of the updates then. This is the what I provided to council with updates on both the climate action plan and our recent greenhouse gas inventory. So here's different, again, I think I sent this to Susan, so you have all these, but it was nice to have some definitions. You know, for some people, they're going to be reading through this, and you read all these acronyms, and you don't know what they are. So
Was community buy-in difficult?
we're still working on that, really. I mean, it's grown. You know, I think, like I said, once we got to the even getting those 31 members of the subcommittees made a difference. Because we had different areas of stakeholders then, where before it was pretty much the city and the college and Oberlin project, and we had some very strong people on city council that were interested in this, so there was a push for it. So now it is, as we developed this climate action plan, it did provide buy-in and exposure to the community. Just a little background on Oberlin, so you can kind of see where we've gone or come from, I guess, is 2001, Oberlin adopted a sustainability resolution. In 2004, our comprehensive plan included sustainability. 2007 is when we joined ICLEI, and in 2010 we joined the Clinton Foundation Climate Positive Development Program. And then in 2011, the strategic plan. There were surveys done in the community, what needed done, what wanted to be done, and environmental and economic sustainability were a couple of the top priorities during those surveys. And here's really where we're at. I need to get back with ICLEI and get our recognition for this, but our second climate action plan and our second greenhouse gas inventory has really brought us to monitor and verify results now to see where we're at. So we've kind of gone through all 5 milestones now. I mean, there's still other policies and measures to implement, but the ones we've got to by this point to get, we're looking at and verifying those, which I'll get to here shortly. This gives a little background, I guess, dates of that first greenhouse gas inventory, the reductions, the things we've already talked about here. And then our second one was completed, our second greenhouse gas inventory was completed in 2014, and we started it in 2013, so we had complete numbers for 2012, and so that gave us a 5-year span from 2007 to 2012. Climate Positive Development Program, we moved to stage 2 there. So now we're a climate participant there, and the Climate Action Plan provided the approval for that.
Can you talk a bit about that program?
Boy, you probably know more about it than I do, Sean.
About it. Yeah, the Climate Positive Development Program was, as Doug mentioned, developed by the Clinton Climate Initiative. That's now C40. It is broken off. C40 cities is what you normally see, but if you dig deep in their site, you'll find the Climate Positive Development Program. There are 18 cities globally who have committed themselves within this framework to becoming climate positive by a certain date. It's not prescriptive for each city. As Doug mentioned, we're one of the first cities, the first 5 to hit the participant status milestone. But this framework is something that the accounting for various parts of a climate action plan within this framework are not something that I think really makes sense at a broad scale, but it makes sense within the framework itself. For instance, how do you become climate positive, right? How do you get past carbon neutral? How do you go below 0? Well, there are a number of ways where you could reasonably say this is how we would do it, but this framework spells out methods for participants, and some of those methods are, you could sequester greenhouse gas emissions, you essentially fund the sequestration of greenhouse gas emissions outside of your city limits. That could take a number of forms: physically funding a project, pioneering a new technology, and then communicating that to other cities who then adopt it. And you can, if you were able to draw a clear line of, I'm going to keep pushing on this, Oberlin, let's say that we relamp all of our streetlights with LEDs, and then we're talking to Yellow Springs, and we say, here's what happened when we did this, and then Yellow Springs decides that it will relamp in a similar fashion based on that exposure to Oberlin. That within the framework could be counted as what they call a climate positive credit. These are not renewable energy credits or carbon offsets. It's a completely self-contained climate positive credit within this framework. But those are the types of things that they want to see within the framework. The city and the college both committed to this. The city's climate positive goal is 2050, as spelled out in the Climate Action Plan. The college's carbon neutral goal is 2025. And the two, as you know, coming from a small town with a college, are often just intertwined in ways that, you know, they're inseparable. So the college has been greatly assisted in its carbon neutral goals by the electric utility switching generation sources to carbon neutral and renewables. The city benefits from the college being, you know, a large progressive driver, and from the, you know, the energy and vitality and intelligence of students and staff and faculty there. So, so that's a little bit more about the framework.
And it's a good thing you're here now, because by 2025 there will be no breathing on college properties, so there will be no emissions. Yeah. So here's getting into our climate action plan. As Sean was saying, our biggest reduction for us, for Oberlin, and for probably anybody, is going to be renewable energy. You can see so here's how our breakdown is. So Oberlin and our landfill gas projects are all online at this point. So we're involved in 3 different landfill gas projects that we've actually have all the output from 2 of them in Geneva and Mahoning County. And then there's one in McMillan here that we're buying some power from that. So that will provide 55%. And jump this to 2017 instead of 2015, because some of the hydro projects, you guys are familiar with AMP, so you guys are fairly familiar. So the hydro projects they're building, so the last 2 aren't going to be, they were supposed to be done this year, and it looks like it's going to be 2016. Wow. So 2017 we'll have a full year production of power from there. So I use those numbers for this presentation.
So you'll be in both of those new?
We're in, yes.
We are.
Yes, yep. You are also, okay, yep. And actually we were in Belleville, the first one they did too, that I think started was finished in 1999. So I have a list of them here so you can see quickly. Actually, we're in more than that. But anyway, the hydro will be about 25%. Wind, we have wind projects. We're part owners of the project in Bowling Green, and then in Van Wert, Ohio, that big project there, we have a PPA with them. And solar, that almost 3% there, and that's from the 2.2 megawatt array that the college put in. So that's used within the community, so we can count it here, you know, as the college is part of our community. What we didn't realize until actually I was putting this together, when I got numbers for market power there is another almost 4%, because they have a a little over, so they have 3.6% nuclear and you know, 0.6% renewables in the market power. So that'll bring us to 89% carbon neutral resources in Oberlin by 2017. Here's all the different projects. Actually, here we're in, we're in 6 of the hydro projects that AMP has. So we bought output from 6 of those. We're one of the joint venture members in the Belleville project. We do have 10 solar installations here in Oberlin that are private, not counting the big OSSO project that the college put in, and the equivalent of that is about 20 homes. We're moving 20 homes of electricity between the 5 residential and the 5 commercial ones, and actually the biggest one is this building here. So about that total right there is 14.5 metric tons of CO2 reduction. The financing, here's a way that we've found that is beyond belief, that never imagined these prices would come up and whether they'll stay that way, but the rec market is pretty high right now yet for Ohio recs. So what Oberlin has done is is selling the high-priced Ohio recs and purchased recs from, I think it's Oklahoma, for wind recs. So this year, we haven't got the numbers, well, we should January. I don't think it's completed yet, but when I put this together, the projection was $637,000 that'll come back to the city. It will still be green because we have green power, but it's we've sold the high-priced RECs and purchased lower-cost RECs.
What's REC?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so the renewable energy credit. When you have renewable energy, there's 2 parts. So the energy that we use, and then there's a part that you can sell off because it's renewable. and those are market based. And because of requirements in Ohio and different regions, certain ones are worth more than other ones. So you can, if you sell it off and don't replace it though, now it's the same as market power, so it's coal power. That makes sense. I maybe need a diagram for it, but yeah, there's, I don't know if there's a better way to describe
What
it.
are
But
the
it's
environmental attributes associated with renewable energy? If you were to put solar panels on the roof of your house and they were to generate enough power to run your house, but then you sold the RECs, your house would technically be powered by solar power because those electrons are going to flow to your plugs and loads. But you would have sold the environmental attributes to someone else and therefore would not be.
Yeah, college, that's how it, I think that's how it works with Annie, that because of the way they finance it, the RECs are sold.
There's a large
Yeah,
array that was
credits.
installed in a PPA probably with
But
outside
for our
financing.
village,
Yeah, yeah.
where
You
the
probably
village
don't own the RECs.
uses renewable.
Yep.
Are you saying that the city does sell the RECs?
Right, and I can get you in contact with, there's a company, oh boy, I can't, it's Third Sun out of California, I think the city's using, they have all the different RECs, and so they're a broker, so they can, we can sell the high priced ones to them, and they sell us the low priced ones, and the difference is huge, that we never would have imagined. And REC prices are, eventually going to drop because there's more and more renewables out there. It's not going to have the value, but boy, to capitalize on that now is a great thing.
That's because the village or the city owns the solar.
Right, no, well, the hydro, any of the power that we buy through these projects, and that's that's a good question, because, so, these landfill gas contracts that we have all the RECs, do we have all the RECs for both of those? The third one, for like 5 years, I forget exactly how many years, we get half the RECs. So that's part of the contract of the RECs too, because this, like you're saying, the project there, that's how a lot of these places fund it. Like also here, the big project that the college has, the solar project, is a third party that really owns it.
Yeah.
So they sell the solar RECs
Yes,
and they
that's
replace it with wind RECs, so they're making money off that REC difference themselves. So
Do you work with John Courtney at all, who's an energy consultant?
at AMP? Or-
No, it's an independent contractor.
No,
we have.
no,
He
no.
said that he doesn't work.
Oh.
Yeah.
In that document, there's some mention of the city selling its RECs to the college, and I was wondering what that was about. And how does the college benefit from the purchase of those?
So the college wanted to be more renewable, and we had RECs at the time from that first hydro project that we got into in 1999. So they paid an extra $2 a megawatt hour for that, and so they could claim that usage within the city themselves. And so the city started a sustainable reserve fund from that, and so we have this pot of money set aside for projects, efficiency projects, things that relate to electrical, energy efficiency, carbon reductions. So that's how, does that make sense? The college wanted to be able to,
Then the college resells them at a.
no, in this case, the college just keeps them, because $2 was a low price anyway. So the college keeps the RECs, and they could say they were, where the city overall would say at that time we were 12% renewable. The college could say they were 25% renewable, because they were buying all the RECs for that part, and we had some other ones, but they were able to make their claims to be more renewable as a college for their usage. And the college is big for us. 25% of our load is Oberlin College, so they use a lot of electricity here.
So these are accounting ways of it's not that the college is actually using, has that percentage of renewables. It's just a way of shifting accounting.
Right. Well, it all is, right. Sort of like Sean was saying, if you have that solar array in your house, you really, those electrons from the solar is in your house, but if you sell the RECs, you can't claim it. In the same way, we have a landfill gas project that's outside Oberlin here, and it feeds through our small grid here and feeds to the big grid, and we're not buying any of it. But really, the electrons are feeding Oberlin. They produce enough power to really power Oberlin almost all the time anymore.
Yeah, the rec market has really been created
because of wanting to have incentives, economic incentives, so that people would in fact move toward renewable energy. And then some states, Ohio did have this sort of thing where all commercial power companies had to have so much renewable, and if they didn't have it, they had to buy it from somebody. That's how the RECs got. It's a funny shell game that got started. It's a weird, crazy thing, but it's the way that tried to use economic incentives to get toward renewable when people weren't inclined to do it. I mean, when I was in New York, before I came here, we had options. Before this REC market ever happened, was we could say to our power company, we're willing to pay because we believe that climate change is real. We want wind power to come, so we paid a penny and a half for each kilowatt hour, and that money would go to support the nascent wind power in New York State. And that money then allowed people to build wind power because they could sell it for more than the base power people were buying. It doesn't happen in New York like that anymore. It's gone because there's so much wind in New York, they don't need the incentive anymore. These RECs are going to disappear, and all this funny money is going to go away. And it's awful hard to understand that you're buying something that has an environmental attribute to it and the energy attribute, and that's a cultural figment of our manipulating the economic system to motivate toward what we really need to be doing because people weren't convinced enough to do it on their own without some incentive.
Yeah, the initial idea behind it was you pay some extra, and that extra would go into building more wind projects or more solar projects, and then people didn't know how to make money without actually doing the work, figured out how to shuffle the paper, and they could make money just by buying and selling these things. So,
so don't set up your system to make all that money there like Oberlin is making.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's only it's a blip on the screen. It has no meaning except you could use it to do good things.
right. So next area that's going to make the big difference, and are you guys part of Efficiency Smart?
Yes.
Okay, you have Efficiency Smart. So they've been very successful in Oberlin, and Oberlin's been very successful with them. So you're familiar with them, and our biggest areas have been commercial. Naturally, we're 80% of our loads commercial, 20% residential. So, but we've had some huge. The first 3 years. Oh, do I have that number in here? It was about almost 400%, 390% over their target is what Efficiency Smart did here in Oberlin. So it had huge reductions.
And how was that accomplished, do you know? Was it like light bulbs or?
Well, the two big entities here, Oberlin College, again, they were going through a period of energy efficiency upgrades at the college. So lighting, I think they've got everything done. Last I heard of all the buildings at the college, they've upgraded to the high performance T8 bulbs now. They've done other projects as they renovate buildings, and so they've gotten, well, I don't know how much they've received in total rebate money from Efficiency Smart, but quite a bit. And then our local joint vocational school did a huge renovation of their place. They had a $4 million upgrade, including lighting, boilers, HVAC equipment, and they received over $100,000 in rebates for all the work they did. So it's really, for Oberlin, it's really worked out well. We kind of wondered for the first 3 years, we hit so high, what are they going to be able to do? How much is there really? But now so we've signed up for another 6 years with them, and we're just came to the end of the first year of that second contract now, and they are actually at about, so it's 2 3-year contracts. So their goal, they've got a 3-year goal, and they're at about a third of that right now. So we're hopefully going to stay with that, be able to make that goal at the end of the 3 years. And at this point, it looks like we're at least on that line to do that. So yeah, the reduction here for Oberlin, I like to compare it to homes. How many homes did we reduce it by? Because we can kind of relate to that, or at least I can. So here, that goal for 2014 was 1,570,000 kilowatt hours. So that equals 174 homes that reduced the consumption, and the 128 metric tons of CO2 So that with their efficiency that they did. And for us, though, it's kind of a catch-22, because if we had a lot of coal power, right, coal electricity, so now you reduce a little bit and your carbon reductions go down a lot. Well, now when we get to the 89%, we're gonna, whatever we do is just only gonna drop that carbon emissions a little bit. So it's, and I covered that in here, but we're probably gonna run out of time. Power has been probably one of the biggest, and I've been involved with it, so I guess I have a little bit of maybe pride to it, but Power has just done a great job in efficiency reductions here in Oberlin. It started with a group of us we were concerned as we got more electricity, renewable electricity, which at the time the prices were higher than market power. So who's that going to affect the most? The low income. So we started this group, Power, called Providing Oberlin with Efficiency Responsibly, and we raised funds to insulate homes for low income at no cost. So we did, in 3 years, 28 homes, I believe it was, and 3 or 4 years, 4 years wasn't it, that we did it. And as that money it was getting harder and harder to raise those funds, and we found out that Columbia Gas has a fantastic program for rebates for normal income folks that are up to about 40% for insulating and weatherization. And a lot of people didn't know about it, and there's paperwork involved, and there's an auditor that has to come and audit the house and do an inspection, and then you have to deal with the contractor. So some people didn't want to deal with it. And then they have their warm choice program that for low income, they'll do everything free, including replacing a furnace if it's bad. We've had one in town that they, I think, replaced the furnace, and one they rebuilt this furnace, and we said, why didn't they just replace it? Because they spent all this time and energy fixing it. But in any case, it's all no cost to the customer. So we thought, why don't we leverage that money? So what we did was hire an energy advocate, and we hired Greg Jones. This guy is like charismatic about energy efficiency. He goes in your house, and when he leaves, you're going out and buying insulation and caulk because he talked to you. So he just comes in and he sits down with the people, especially older folks, helps them walk through the process. He'll make the call right there with Columbia Gas. All the people on the phone now know Greg. He calls up, oh, Greg, so he's signing people up. He's right there. If they're not comfortable with an auditor coming to their home, he'll meet them and he'll get everybody comfortable, and then he can leave, go to the next project. Same with the contractor. When the contractor shows up, it's kind of scary for somebody who doesn't know anything about that. They're going to come drill holes in my house. They're going to come in and caulk around my windows. And so Greg's got to know the contractors now. So he'll go there. If the people, our customer's not comfortable with it, Greg will be there for him, and he'll walk them through, and friendliest guy you've ever met. And so Greg's done a great job. He's, depending on the program, the either low income or the regular program, he's in, and I'm getting them, can't remember which one. One, he's tripled the amount of applications to Columbia Gas. The other program, he's doubled. So just in the last, we hired him, it's been a little over, 2 years now he's been here. So the first year, it took about a year for him to get, accepted in the community and make inroads and make connections. He'll go to community events, works with Oberlin Community Services. They have food handout, and he's there setting up, hey, here's how you can save money. Insulate your home, weatherize it. And some of it I can get you free, all done. And so he's done a fantastic job. So last year was, this wasn't even the whole year because I did this for council in December, so I think I had through November numbers. We had 56 audits completed. He had 12 more that were in the process of being done by Columbia Gas. 43 homes were weatherized, and when you added up the cost of the audits, the value, the weatherization, and the energy savings was $105,000 that in 1 year he brought into the community as far as leveraging that with Columbia Gas. So it's been it's been a great program.
How's he paid?
We raised grant money and then the Sustainable Reserve Fund that we talked about here with the city. So the city has, they put an application in, worked with that, and actually got their biggest grant this year that'll cover the salaries for Greg and administrative costs for the program. So there's other grant money that we raise for marketing purposes and that type of thing.
And we have donations too.
The what?
Donations from individuals.
Right, yep. And yeah, we have regular people that donate every year that have been since it started. So I'll just hit this quick. Somebody brought up lighting. We've done a lot of municipal projects over the last few years with Efficiency Smart and the rebates, and also some of their technical expertise. Just with our police department, the city hall, the court. I talked to the judge, worked with him, and managed to get him to spend some money, and we upgraded their lighting to LED. They were really happy about it. Buildings and grounds, and we're going, as Sean mentioned, we are doing some LED street light projects. We have 31 light, well, actually more than that now, about 40 LED lights up, and council approved doing a couple more streets. We'll finish off some streets, and I'm kind of excited about that because that's something I'm involved with, and it's really a neat. These lights are really nice. But total, yeah, and here's projects we're working on now. So again, my job's kind of, as I said, evolved. I was with the light and power, and now I'm working with different departments and helping them look at what could be done for energy efficiency in their department. So here's what we did with the city was 140,000 kilowatt hours reduction during that 3-year period. So about 11 tons of CO2, and then savings. And this is savings at our cost of power. So it's not the retail rate, just our cost, saving the residents $10,000 a year just in what we've done that they don't have to pay for. And we've received over $5,000 of rebates for those projects. And Oberlin, just to put that in perspective, so I mentioned the college is 25% of our load. The city municipal load is 3%. And that's everything, including our water plant, wastewater plant, and our power plant, which are the 3 biggest users. So for us to do that kind of reduction when we're that small, you know, we're a pretty small piece of the pie, really. Transportation, that's going to be a harder area naturally to get into, you know, for us to do some reductions. But so once we get all those renewables, that's going to be 28% of our emissions, where it was only 13%. A couple of things we have going. We did install a EV charging station. We have an electric meter on it, so I can keep track of how much electricity is used. And again, you have to do some suppositions with this, but I use numbers off the EPA website and some other websites to come up with, you know, what would this 968 kilowatt hours of use equal as far as how much reduction it would be. And so using, I think, a Nissan Leaf. That's 2,849 miles and 1 metric ton of reduction there. So we just put that in last year, the beginning of last year.
Is that based on 85% of your power being renewable?
What's that?
I mean, does that take into consideration that 85% of your power is renewable?
Right. Yep. Yeah. Otherwise, if it's coal power,
you're
right.
not counting that part.
Right. Right. So, yep. Yeah, that's calculating that in there too, exactly. And this was kind of neat. I thought that picture, we put in a dual charging station, and I set up with the local paper to come in and do a little article on it. And so I had somebody set up, and actually she works at the college, and said, would you bring your car over, and so they could talk to you. And so while she's there, here this other guy pulls in and plugs in. I said, what better timing than that you couldn't beat it, you know. So. We have this, the college has worked with Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and there's a car sharing program where you join the program, you reserve your car. They're all fuel efficient cars, and it's been so successful that they're looking at adding a 4th location here in Oberlin. So it kind of reduces, you know, I know for me, if I'm paying by the hour, I'm going to make sure I'm planning my trip accordingly, right? I'm not going to be wasting gas and time. I don't know if you've heard about Oberlin getting hybrid trash trucks, refuse trucks. So these are hybrid trucks by Parker Hannafin that actually use the braking to build up pressure in a hydraulic system. And so when it short stops like that, like a trash truck would do, it actually uses that hydraulic power then to move the truck. And so being for us, it's perfect that it's not long drives. Fuel consumption, they're projecting about 35 to 50% reduction in fuel use. And for us, the big thing, that'll get farther down the road, but it's also, we went to the single stream recycling, single source. So now instead of separating it, it's one cart. And so it should.
Can you say more about how your solid waste removal system works? Have you always had your own, for one thing?
We have, as far as pickup, municipal pickup,
Yeah.
you mean?
The city does.
Yes, yep, we pick it up and then we take it to a landfill that's right outside of town here.
And then you recycle within, how do you do the recycling?
The recycling, well, I'll get to that here, actually in our solid waste section.
I'm sorry.
That's fine.
There.
Thinking ahead, these are some other things that are going on as far as transportation. We've added some bicycle lanes, which actually you'll get to park in when we visit the one place, so we'll block that for a little bit while we take a tour, but I got permission from the police chief so we don't get any tickets, but it'll be easier to get in there. So different things going on. The college set up a shopping shuttle, so there's a bus on Friday and Saturdays that'll run different places for students, but it's available to anybody in town if they want to use it. The green building, naturally here's the roof of this building here without snow on it, and the solar array in the back. These are all LEED Silver or better buildings in Oberlin, or under construction. So mostly college projects. The fire station that Oberlin did a few years ago. So these are all our partners working towards the projects. Hey, John. So that group Power, Efficiency, Smart, and Columbia Gas all working together for energy efficiency and green buildings. Here's a view of, here's some of the houses. Here's a view of Carl's house there, Trail Magic. We've got another high performance house here, Lincoln Street, another one here. So it's kind of drawing an interest here in Oberlin as people come. They're building houses like this here.
Do you have any passive houses?
Well, that'll be.
No German passive houses here, but that's really over the top. If you look at what they're doing, it's unnecessary.
That's an opinion.
We've got about 3 of them.
Just six, that's right.
Really?
Don't cut him off, I'd like to hear it.
Yes,
We can talk later.
We'll talk at his house. He can show you the difference. So here's our waste management. A small part of our emissions, but our recycling rate was about 30%. The thing with these new trucks, so now everything is commingled as far as recycling. So we have one bin for trash, one bin for recycling. What they've seen, I need that number here. Yeah, it's at least doubled by other communities in Lorraine County that have gone to that. Their recycling has doubled.
So are you saying recycling is just dumped in with the regular trash?
No, two separate cans.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. And then actually, yeah, I was gonna, if I could have fit more in today, but we have a fantastic recycling center where this goes to right out of Oberlin. So if you ever come again,
Yeah,
I
we
work
have
with the
some,
manager there. Do you have one?
People in town. No, we have some people in town that are wanting to work on this.
Oh, well, yeah, if you want to come up again, I could get you a tour there. I work with the manager, and it's amazing what that place does with this. Now that it's all commingled, they can do, gosh, 80 tons an hour, 100 tons an hour. It's just amazing to watch it in there, how it gets separated. It's all air comes up through the conveyor. Everything's optical, so it knows the shape of a milk jug or a carton, and this air shoots up through the bottom and shoots those things in different directions as it's going by. And how it can do that, and it's going so fast, it was giving me a headache. No, for the whole area. Actually, it's a private company that owns it. But yeah, it's amazing what they can do. But I was dizzy watching it go. It's that fast that I'm thinking, how can this do that? But
So you take your recycling to this private company's facility.
right, yep. Oberlin used to do their own cardboard and aluminum cans, and would actually, because the residents had to separate it themselves, so it was collected separately. And then we had a fire that destroyed all our trucks at one time. So a year ago it's been, yeah. So yeah.
Do you pay for the recycling?
I'm not sure the details how that. I thought for recycling we're supposed to get that. I don't think we have to pay for that dumping, do we? Have to pay a fee for dumping the trash, but I thought recycling was no fee, but I'm not sure.
You from the residents or from the city?
The city.
Oh, the city.
Yeah.
I mean, the residents pay for trash pickup.
What I meant,
But
I
when
was
we
wondering
take it to
whether
private company-
it was neutral in terms of if clearly the recycling company is going to make some money recycling, hopefully.
Right.
So I didn't
right.
know whether the city had to pay to give the
I do
recycling.
believe that there are some fees associated with recycling, but to encourage the residents to recycle more, we don't charge them for recycling.
Oh.
We charge them for garbage. So to help them think about reducing
Yeah.
the garbage that they throw out.
Uh-huh. Interesting.
But our garbage is not weighed, so really,
No.
there's no incentive in it.
And then this past year, the city developed a zero waste plan. So we had our service director and other people, Resource Conservation Commission. We have a Public Works Department, the Refuse and Recycling Division, and so they worked together and developed the zero waste plan for Oberlin. So that was adopted last year by council. And actually, they had this GT Environmental was hired to develop this plan, and they worked together. Education, and this is what John's going to talk about. This next slide here, the bioregional dashboard that's in Oberlin. It started out when we did the first plan. I think there was 4 dashboards. Now there's I think about a dozen. Is it
Hard to keep track of them.
So yeah, they're just growing all over the place here. So just different. These are, I'm not sure how, we're kind of running late, so I'm going to skim through some of these. We are developing a climate action pledge. It's going to be on a website. Probably have a link to from the city website to that for people, again, for buy-in, advertise it so they can look at that, and it'll have a list of things to areas: energy, transportation, waste, local economy, local food, and so they make a conscious decision. So it's in front of them. Hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to buy something local instead of driving to the next town to get something. Thought this was an interesting slide. What's a metric ton of CO2 look like, right? So I found that. So wow, it's pretty big, right? So about the size of a normal sized older home. Okay, and these were all, and this was the global protocol for community scale greenhouse gas emissions. So that's the program you'd probably want to be looking at to see. And can I show you? I could probably show you ours at some point. What they did, we hired Cameron Cole, and they set up a huge spreadsheet with all this information and data for each section. And when it's done, now we'll keep it up here in Oberlin. We won't need to hire them again every 5 years maybe to go over it and check it over. But we have access. We have the spreadsheet now, so we'll do it all in house. And these are all the, as I mentioned, ICLEI went together, was part of developing this global protocol. The C40 cities that Sean mentioned, and UN, so various areas. So it's a very widely accepted program. Here we're getting down. Now we're getting finally to the our reductions here. That one there. Just jump to the so our emissions are going to be by, here's kind of the main category was electricity. Oh boy, what happened here to my slide? Shows it in the preview, but it doesn't show it in the I'll be darned. We're going from, well, I have to read it to you from here. So the electricity was 55%. Electricity will be, where do you go? I don't know whether that projector is not showing it. Reduces, let's see if it's, here's the goal. So we're just going to make that goal by wide. How's that? So, and that's even without the last 2 hydro projects going online. So we will make it. Here's the numbers, but you can see electricity drops from 62,000 tons down to about 8,500 tons there. Natural gas it's gone up. The main part there you'll see a little farther down. So the college in 2012 still had a coal boiler here for heating. They've now replaced that with natural gas boilers. So those emissions are gone, but it raises the natural gas emissions a bit. So those are going to be a little bit higher. Transportation, we've got projected to drop a little bit based on what we have, the strategies going on now. And waste is going to drop a little bit because of those trucks and the increased recycling. So we've made it, and we're pretty happy about that. I was anyway when I put this presentation together, because I had to announce at the council whether we were going to make it or not. So
how much is the reduction accounted for as just an accounting thing rather than actual reductions in
you mean as far as like making projections, or?
Well, the buying and selling of wrecks and things like that. I just didn't know how much of it was actual reductions, or how much of it was manipulations of how it's accounted for.
Yeah, in our case, it's all actual reductions. Yep, all actual reductions. And one of the slides back there with that extra $600,000, if we did want to get our electricity emissions to zero, we could buy extra wrecks, and I think it was only because we had such a small amount, and the wrecks from out west are so cheap, it was like $45,000 was all out of that $600,000 we could spend and get rid of all. But that would be more the accounting part. Yeah. But at this point, that's all. So here's what we're looking at for where we need to be from here on out. So you can see we drop down. The line going straight across is where we're at if we don't do anything, and our goal is 2050 to be down to zero. So.
Is that the city or municipal and residential?
The whole community.
The whole community.
Yep.
Okay.
Is the C40, is that the same thing as the Georgetown prize?
No, that's a different project.
But you're competing in that.
Yes. So, and we're hoping our next recognition will help us with that Georgetown University prize. But just was it December we were notified? So we were one of 16 cities. We applied for this recognition with the Department of Energy, and it was in the fall, and we got recognized in December for the Climate Action Champion, one of 16 cities in the United States. So,
how many of them are in the Georgetown?
50 are in the running at this point.
Out of the 16.
Oh, out of the 16? Oh,
I haven't done that
I don't know.
cross-reference yet.
Yeah, I thought of that the other day. I kind of wondered. Yeah, I don't know. So that's what I have. I don't know if you have. Whoop, he slipped out. So you have any questions? And then John's got a short presentation on the dashboard project here.
How many total houses are there, or utility customers are there in the city of?
So we have a little over 3,000 customers total. There's about 2,700 residential, and then the rest, there's about a little over 300 commercial. So large commercial and small commercial. And then out of that, we just had a report done. So out of that 2,700 though, there's only about 2,000 buildings, a little over 2,000 residential buildings. So there's a lot of apartments with students, and there's a lot of rentals.
Could I ask you about transportation? I think this is a tricky issue. We've been talking about it a little bit. How have you looked at that? Are you going to be re-examining it as you move through this? And are you looking at beyond Oberlin and how that affects?
It's a great question. When you're talking about a city the scale of Oberlin or Yellow Springs, transportation is one of the most vexing challenges that we face within our goals. We obviously have through the electric portfolio, we've provided a foundational framework within which we can build on transportation options as cars move more towards electric. If you have an electric car, it doesn't mean that it's actually a better car emissions-wise. If your electricity is renewable or carbon neutral, however, that's one of the big advances we have. So right now, we're in an advantageous position of having the electric be prepped and ready for an electric fleet to come online. Oberlin is not particularly well suited to mass transit developed within the city. We really, as far as a mass transit situation, public transportation is concerned, we have to work at that at a county or a regional scale as a much more effective use. So I'm not going to say that we're punting because I think that we have strategically, put parts of that system in place right now. And I do think that if you look at what's happening within automakers, which is a big chunk of our transportation, in Oberlin going forward, that you're seeing more electric options, more plug-in options happening. But it's going to be a major challenge for us moving forward, and we don't claim to have all of the answers that are going to get us there right now. Some of this is going to be innovation along the way and responding to our opportunities.